Good evening. This is Maestro Critello with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we have a 3v3 on Boranis Refinery. Our first player is E.L. Hunter, playing as the Techmarine. This is a Space Marine ranged hero who has a gun for every occasion. He can also build relay beacons and turrets, and he can support vehicles with repairs. Next up, we have the great Cornholio, playing as the Plague Champion. Kind of like the Techmarine's counterpart, he is a ranged hero, however, he can actually become a melee hero. He can also repair, build turrets, and heal. Finally on the blue team, we have Super Hooper, playing as the surprisingly big Ravener Alpha. This is a tunneling commander who fights decently in both ranged and melee, but mostly you want to build those tunnels, which allow him to get around the map rather quickly. On the other team, we've got PhatE playing as the Eldar Warlock. This is an Eldar melee hero. He can be more of a spellcasting hero or more of a melee tank, depending on what war gears you get for him. Next up, we've got Stoned Elf playing as the Commissar Lord. Slightly tanky melee hero with a free energy shield. He can buff his own troops by shooting them in the head to make them fight harder. And then finally, we have Bashful Pwny playing as the Orc Warboss. This is a big tanky melee hero who can charge, be very aggressive, and use very powerful buffs. I love these snow maps. I actually really like the snow maps. I don't know why, because I actually don't like snow in real life. But I guess it's because we don't see them enough often that I find them a refreshing change when we actually play them in an Elite mod. Even though they're functionally basically almost the same as their non-snowy counterparts. They aren't exactly the same, because the placement of cover and such is different. Anyway, blue team look like they're opening strong, or are they? I thought so because we had Super Hooper getting a decap on the red team's natural, but red team is the one with the lead in VPs. They've still got 500 to the 461 of the blue team, but it looks like Super Hooper was kind of just countering a natural victory point decap, because on the other side looks like Stoned Elf and no, not Stoned Elf. Was it Stoned Elf? We have a Warboss managing to get a decap right here. Bashful Pwny is calling a 2. Now he's getting double right now, but Bashful Pwny managed to get a decap on the blue team's natural VP, and he's really pushing back E.L. Hunter. Now Hunter, one of the things I noticed about him was that he was not really moving at the start of the game. And I don't think he was AFK. I think what happened was he was taking a long time to load in, and the game actually started without him. And that actually happens. That actually can happen now with the new lag system. If your computer is not powerful enough, and you take too long to load in, the game will actually start without you. And it's kind of a problem. It can actually be a pretty big problem. I actually experienced this myself, where I couldn't actually start playing until like 30 seconds after the game had started, and that was actually really game-breaking for me and especially my teammates. I actually managed to get a RAM upgrade, and that pretty much solved the problem, so now it's pretty much fixed. Anyway, red team, definitely the ones looking strong right now, but I have to be extremely careful with this Sentinel. Slightly overextended, manages to get it out of there without losing the Sentinel though, but still took like 600 damage attempting that. Have to be very careful with that, because even getting a decap is not... Even if he actually got the decap, it wouldn't have been worth losing the Sentinel. Cormagant's right here, just might go down. It's a close call, but actually I don't think they're going to pull it off. This squad of Banshees does have their aspect of strength, so they do have more health. They should also have the fleet of foot ability. PhatE, let me take a look at PhatE's red. PhatE even had enough red that he could have done the swift movement global. And that swift movement global for the Warlock is extremely overpowerful, if not overpowered. I definitely use it when I play the Warlock. Anyway, Catachan Devil's out on the field for Stoned Elf, and not just one, but two. Curious build, hardly ever seen, to be honest. I wonder what he's thinking here, although, to be honest, I also have seen good things done with double Catachan builds, and I've been on the receiving end of them. Anyway, very, very nice. Warboss manages to get in on the Devastator squad, and these Assault Marines in a huge amount of trouble. They do not want to be taking on a squad of sluggers. They are going to get wiped. Oh my god, those Assault Marines never stood a chance. Meanwhile, speaking of never standing a chance, what is happening to PhatE? He has so far It looks like he almost lost his Banshees, and he definitely lost his Dire Avengers. I don't know if he had any squads other than that. He is saying that it is a laggy game, so that could be part of what's going on, unfortunately for him. And I guess another disadvantage of the lag system is that when if you lag a lot in the middle of the game continues on without you, and you are very, very vulnerable to losing squads when that happens. Alright, so blue team looking like they're pushing back. Hunter has definitely taken some losses, but they've now got the double cap with Cornholio occupying the middle. He's got a double Havoc build, good for control, and he still keeps decent range damage because he has the Plague Champion as ranged, as well as his Chaos Space Marines. Only one squad of Heretics, though. Meanwhile, the Warlock right here has upgraded to the Champion's Robe. He's also got the Channeling Runes, which is... It's an interesting... I mean, the Channeling Runes, they're actually a very strong war gear. But their synergy isn't really great with the rest of his war gears, because the Channeling Runes will be taking energy away from the Psychic Shield. So he won't really be able to get the full benefit of the Champion's Robe if he decides to actually use the Channeling Runes. But, I mean, that being said, he can still get a partial benefit from it, while also get the benefit of being able to use the Channeling Runes to support things like his Banshees, which actually work out very, very well with the Channeling Runes. And then even better with late game, I think, with Seer Council. Where is the... Oh, this Warlock is attempting a revive, and with the Psychic Shield, he actually should be able to get it. The bigger question, actually, is whether the Commissar Lord will be able to make it back home, because he needs to start retreating immediately. Wow, that was actually a crucial disruption by the Warlock on the Plague Champion, because the Plague Champion could have meleeed that Commissar Lord, the Chaos Space Marines could have force meleeed, and then with some extra range fire on retreat, the Commissar Lord could have gone down again. Instead, it looks like maybe the Plague Champion will go down. Or not. He's quite tough right now because he has the Armor of Pestilence, granting him an extra 600 health. And he's just going to retreat back to this relay beacon. I haven't said yet that in this particular game, though I often do say it, that I feel the Techmarine is the strongest team's hero in part because of this teleporter relay beacon. Really just gives the team that has it field presence that the other team pretty much can't match unless they have their own Techmarine with a relay beacon. Or maybe possibly a Chimera in Tier 2 from an Imperial Guard player that has been hulled down. Very, very bad jump from the Storm Boys, and they're not getting out of there alive. Just jumped into way too much stuff. This should be an awesome Manticore Strike. Or it's not a Manticore Strike, it's just a Flare. But we should see a Manticore Strike. Warboss is going to go down, so definitely some misplays by many of the players. But this Manticore actually does need to take a shot, because the Manticore is definitely something that very hard counters the relay beacon. It doesn't actually counter the beacon itself, but all of the units around the beacon are pretty much screwed, because they will just be retreating right into a Manticore. There he didn't get a great Manticore Strike, but he still needs to be careful. PhatE is saying will break soon. I'm assuming he's meaning the relay beacon. But again, he's not really counting on the beacon itself being destroyed as much, but rather just the units around it taking massive losses. And Bashful Pwny said he's going to get sticks. I think that would actually work out very well too, for the same reasons as the Manticore. Just inflict so much damage on the units that are crowded around the beacon that they just get destroyed. Allied Ravener, so where Ravener? He's over here. Anyway, we do have a bit of a range blob from Hunter. He's got one squad of unupgraded attacks, a Stern Guard veteran squad, and that Techmarine. Techmarine with no upgrades. This is still a very powerful ranged force, though. And the red team actually playing pretty well at this point. We have a War Truck out on the field, PhatE, for some reason, is very, very low on units and is not really doing anything about it. I don't know what he's planning to do. He's actually infiltrating. Oh, he switched War Gears to the Cloak of Shadows to allow his Howling Banshees to get infiltrated, and that's very, very nice. They should get suppressed at this point. Techmarine will go down, so a very, very nice use of the Cloak of Shadows. That is a very, very underused War Gear from the Warlock, but it has a lot of potential. I think one of the problems is that it's just the hardest War Gear for him to use. Or, well, it's the hardest to use as far as, like, skill and stuff goes. Like, the Champion's Robe is a very easy War Gear to use. The Cloak of Shadows is quite a bit tougher. It takes, like, both better know-how as well as better, like, knowledge and experience of, like, how to use it. But it was well used, and Texanius, a legendary player who actually does not play that much these days, has often extolled the virtues of the Cloak of Shadows. I was going to say the Cloud of Shadows, but that makes no sense. Ooh, it looks like we're going to have some bold maneuvering from Bashful Pwny's war truck, and this is especially bold considering he's got, like, a rather weak war truck. Yeah, I don't know about this bold maneuvering. I think this would be worth it, like, if he had something like stick bombers or tank busters inside, that he would really be able to make something of that play. Like, to either destroy the relay beacon or inflict a lot of losses to the units around it. He's in a lot of trouble right now. He's probably going to lose the war truck. He's absolutely going to lose the war truck. It no longer has a chance. Close call. Actually, it got out of there alive. Wow, I was really surprised it got out of there alive, considering all the sources of AV that could have killed it. I think just a misplay by Cornholio, or just like a little bit of a lag in his response time, since he had this Havoc, should have been able to open fire on the war truck and kill it before it got out of its firing arc. So, blue team actually, they still have the lead in VPs. I mean, with a relay beacon, you should be able to hold on to the VPs, since you should be able to, like, keep your unit around, like, one of the VPs, mainly the contested VP. And usually you want that relay beacon to support the contested VP. Now, we're seeing that Manticore used, and well, he's using it on units and then they're retreating to the relay beacon. It would be best used if he can get units to retreat to the relay beacon first and then use it, so that they have nowhere to retreat to, so that they're already at, like, partial health. The tricky part about that is just, well, first of all, winning the engagement without the Manticore, and then getting sight on the beacon, so that he can actually use the Manticore on it. And he's also now moving the Manticore dangerously close, to be honest. If anything, I feel like he needs to move it back. I can't see the range of the Manticore, of course, in a replay. And I'm sure he wants... I'm even wondering if Bashful Pwny is trying to get sight on this beacon for him. But Bashful Pwny is definitely going to lose the war truck. Yeah, he loses the war truck this time. And, oh my god, that is absolutely devastating. What is happening? Why are all those things taking so much damage? Jesus. There we go. There is that juicy Manticore strike. Looks like it killed like one squad, almost killed the Devastator Marines. But basically, yeah, whenever they can actually manage to get sight. And to be honest, what Stone Delve should actually do is use the flare to get sight. In my opinion, he should use the Commissar flare to get sight on the beacon, and then just pummel it with the Manticore, since the flare will reveal Fog of War. Alright, Plague Champion right here. He's actually using the damage resistance from the Pestilence Strike to capture this point. Definitely one of the good uses of the Plague Champion in 3v3, because it allows him to actually tank the ridiculous amount of range fire that you see in 3v3. And, I mean, otherwise, it's hard for this slow melee hero to sometimes make himself relevant. At least as the hero himself. That should be another Manticore strike. Absolutely destroying things. Yeah, now they're really punishing them for that Manticore, or for that beacon. And Super Hooper not happy about it. Yeah, they just got absolutely destroyed. Grenade. Let's see, that grenade goes in. Doesn't actually do much. So that was rather well played by Stoned Elf as well as Bashful Pwny. Bashful Pwny definitely had a part in that. I think Bashful Pwny was more involved in actually destroying the beacon, while Stoned Elf was just absolutely murdering the units surrounding it. We should have another dead Techmarine, because the Warboss, with those globals and with Orc melee squads having the high DPS that they do, is just extremely good at killing things on retreat. He manages to walk into the stun of the Great Cornholio's Power Fist. And these stick bombs need to get out of there. I mean, the Warboss might do okay. The Slugger Boys actually need to be careful. And we even have some of that disruption from the Aura of Decay ability from the Armor of Pestilence. And we're starting to have Terminator call-downs from the blue team. We've got the Chaos Terminators as well as the Loyalists. That was a risky teleport. Well, actually it wasn't that risky, but I mean it's just inherently risky to teleport aggressively with your Terminators. They do manage to take out the Warboss, so Bashful Pwny did take a loss there, but red team now with the triple cap and probably soon the lead in VPs. Looks like blue team will get their natural back, but I think the lead in VPs will go in favor of the red team before the blue team can actually recapture the contested VP. It's definitely time for this Manticore to move back. It's all the way at level 3 because of all the kills it's gotten. Alright, Manticore Strike should, if anything, target these Terminators right now, do some massive damage, either force them to take a massive amount of damage, or make them teleport off the point. As it is, they might just get out of here, teleport so that they don't take any losses. That would be the smart play, because instead they're going to eat some stick bombs and possibly get wiped. Alright, managed to teleport out of there without losing a single model, which is pretty lucky. Some stun bombs going in on the Loyalist Terminators. They now have the Cyclone Missile Launcher, which these days is really a great upgrade. Looks like we're going to have another Manticore Strike, this one mostly missing things, and the Manticore is actually now slightly less effective now, or, well, it's not quite as valuable now that the Relay Beacon is done. Although, not that a Manticore can ever really not be valuable. Well, I take that one back. But the Manticore would still be very valuable. And wow, a Swarmlord out on the field. Didn't even notice we were that far into the game, or yes I did. We have 2 squads of Terminators, so we have tier 3 super units out from blue team players, not really any of the super units out from the red team players. And I wonder if there was a nuke here or something. No, I think just before from all this stuff, but man, those craters look deep. We do have the Fire Prism out from PhatE, which it's a game-changing unit, to be fair, even though I don't consider it a super unit. Although I do personally consider Terminators a super unit. Which some people might not, and that's fair. Certainly the Swarmlord we would call a super unit. That's definitely a super unit. Lull in the action. Blue team actually managed to take it back, and PhatE finally having a decently sized army. He spent most of the game with like three units, his Warlock as well as the 2 squads, the Dire Avengers and the Banshees. He has gotten Seer Council, which, I mean, Seer Council are a pretty nice unit, and those would actually be supported very, very well with the Channeling Rune, since he can restore their health. They're much tougher than the Banshees, so there's much less likelihood that they will lose their models. Even leveled Banshees with their Exarch are not quite as tough as the Seer Council. Oh dear, though, here is the infiltration from the Banshees. Infiltration with the Banshees and the Seer Council. That is beautiful. So that is some really, really incredible use of the Cloak of Shadows. Especially with a melee force consisting of leveled Banshees as well as the Swarmlord. Wow, even damn. I was going to say the Swarm Lord has to respect that, or he doesn't. He might just use the Storm of Blades move, which is actually a rarely seen ability, because most times Tyranid players will instead use Leech Essence with the Swarm Lord as their preferred ability to really make the Swarm Lord last a lot longer. Somewhat little known is that the Swarm Lord has a disruption ability called Storm of Blades that does a lot of damage. It disrupts and does a lot of damage and has a pretty nice area of effect. So a lot going on right now, so much so that I'm switching between the action. We're going to have a flank on PhatE's D-Cannon. He should be able to see this. He might be focusing on his units in base, but he's really got to move that D-Cannon. And the D-Cannon actually doesn't take a whole lot of damage. Chaos Predator from Cornholio in a little bit of trouble, taking las cannon shots, actually decreasing its health quite a bit, but it does manage to get out of the arc, and it is a Chaos Predator of Nurgle, so it does have quite a bit more health, and the las cannon is going to go down from Stone Delph, losing track of his las cannon. Meanwhile, some stick bombs going in, attempted stick bombs on the Devastator Marines. The Devastators actually move out in time, so pretty well played by Hunter right there. Hunter needs to get more units, though. Although, that being said, he doesn't actually have that many more resources. Looks like Cornholio is losing a lot. Is this an Eldritch? It is an Eldritch, and unfortunately not really looking like a great Eldritch. Mostly just killed some Termagants. I think he might wipe the Termagants. Oh, he does wipe the Termagants. Ranged fire from the Seer Council wiped the Termagants. Ranged fire from the Seer Council? No, they're going to close in for melee to finish off this squad of Chaos Space Marines. And they sink kill that last dude. They definitely did not stand a chance. Things are actually going on all different sides of the map. Can't catch everything now. Alright, VP's really even though, 191 to 198. Red team now with the double, so they will keep the VPs ticking down in their favor. Bashful Pwny saying orcs aren't made for this. I'm not sure what he means. But the guards are absolutely destroying those Raveners. We have a rather big Imperial Guard range blob. Double Catachans, which, well, I mean, the double Catachans, they don't have that much range because they use shotguns, but they are still rather powerful. They should actually close for melee. The Catachans should close for melee. Commissar closes for melee, which is fine too, to be honest, but the Catachans should close for melee as well, because they will do quite a bit more damage than the Commissar Lord in melee, and they want the Terminators tied up and not doing range damage. Looks like our Catachan Devils, one level 2, one level 1. Commissar Lord has the Carapace armor, which is not the most commonly seen armor war gear for the Commissar Lord, but I've seen it used to very good effect, and particularly by Stone Delph in the past. Singularity. Singularity pulls a bunch of units in, but those units are too strong. Look at all of these red hexagons is showing all of the units that the Swarm Lord was draining health from. Swarm Lord now in trouble, though. We need these tank busters. Keep unleashing that. Maybe if the tank buster barrage is not on cooldown, he needs a tank buster barrage to go in on that Swarm Lord. Manticore strikes, meanwhile, not only scaring off the Terminators, killing Terminator models. Whenever you see plus 25, that's how we know that a Terminator model has gone down. That's the red accumulation for losing or killing a Terminator model. Wow, things are just going on all over this map. We have a touch of Nurgle as a counterattack to those flanking Banshees, as well as the flanking Seer Council. I mean, even a single squad of Heretics with a touch of Nurgle should be able to counter all of that. They might want to get an aspiring champion if they're going to do that, though, just in case. Cornholio seems to have lost most of his squads. I don't know where they went. He's got a massive amount of requisition, though. Not a whole lot of power, so he can't really spam, like, well, units other than Heretics and Chaos Space Marines. Although at this point, it might actually be worth it for him to get another squad of Chaos Space Marines just to put out another unit out on the field that can actually do something. Alright, things are just getting crazy in this game. Engagements are crazy, so many units engaging at once. We have disruption going on, Raveners being disrupted. They're going to lose models, very undoubtedly. Are they? Don't prove me wrong. Alright, they lose one model. Manticore Strike going in on double Terminators. Manticore Strikes are absolutely devastating. Wow, 2 Terminator models go down. Hunter really needs to respect that Manticore Strike. I mean, if anything, he should probably teleport away once he sees the indicator on top of his Terminators, and also not bunch up his Terminators so that both of them don't get hit by the Manticore. Just ridiculous stuff going on right there. We have disruption from the Fire Prism to try to get the units off the point, but he can't actually disrupt the Plague Champion because the Plague Champion right now is immune to weapon knockback. Alright, wow, this is like the closest thing we've had to a lull in the action, and there are still things happening right here. The Seer Council and the Banshees are actually having a little trouble making things happen right now, in part because of this Swarm Lord. The Swarm Lord definitely still counters the Seer Council and the Howling Banshees, even leveled. And PhatE is actually really lacking as far as hard anti-vehicle. He has the Fire Prism. These units are getting way too close to the Fire Prism. And okay, he's going for an... Wow, PhatE is floating tremendously. Alright, PhatE... I've seen PhatE play Eldar before. And to be honest, I think there have been times when it wasn't really that great. I'm gonna guess it's still not really his best race. What is PhatE doing? He's floating so massively. After he buys an avatar, he has enough to buy other things too. Although he does not have the population for other things. I think he bought like a new Exarch or something. Because I don't think he has the population to get an avatar. Before he started an avatar, and then I think he went and bought an Exarch or something. What is he doing? He needs something that can stand up to the Swarm Lord a little better, or at least kill the rest of the Tyranid army, so that the Swarm Lord is, like, left isolated. I saw him start an avatar. I mean, like, obviously at some point his population might have been full, but he had enough at some point to get an avatar. Wow, things getting pulled into the Singularity. I think a squad did get killed in that Singularity. A lot of missiles going in. Crazy, crazy stuff going on in this last engagement. This might not even be the last engagement. I don't know why I called it the last engagement. We have some Hormagaunts getting dead. And the Swarm Lord is still... This Swarm Lord has just been given way too much... Like, I don't even know if I should say free reign, but he's just been given too much leeway. He needs to be controlled more and dealt with more. Hell, I'm even wondering if I should say PhatE should get War Spiders just so he could haywire the Swarm Lord and slow it down. But that Swarm Lord has just been doing too much. And soon Super Hooper, having lost a lot of his other squads, is going to be coupling it with a Carnifex. I mean, in PhatE's case, I'd almost be tempted to say to sacrifice a few Dire Avenger models for the sake of putting an Avatar out on the field. I mean, if not an Avatar, well, I don't know. I actually think the Avatar is the best choice. And yet another Manticore Strike going in. Will they react soon enough? So finally, this time, they actually respect that Manticore Strike and just teleport out of there. Terminators are very, very vulnerable to Manticores if they actually get hit by them. And if they see that Manticore Strike beacon, they pretty much have to teleport out. If they don't, they will suffer just massive, massive damage. And Bashful Pwny saying that orcs are not built for this. I mean, it is pretty tough to deal with, I think, 2 squads of Terminators for orcs. Well, actually, it depends on his composition. I think to deal with these ranged Terminators, he would actually want knobs. And he doesn't have that. Instead, he's got, like, ranged orc units. I think he had flash kits that he lost. A late-game Razorback for Hunter. What is going on? I don't know why he has a Razorback. Like, I have no idea why he went for a Razorback. Alright, but you know, at some point, I figure we'll probably start seeing some nukes. We do have at least 2, if not 3 or 4 players who have enough red for nukes. And in fact, 3 with one very close to having the red for a nuke. Could be pretty crazy. Red team is now, well, I was going to say they are succeeding, but they have succeeded in the past 2 or 3 minutes to gain a VP lead when before it was rather even. But it looks like the blue team is stepping out onto the field. Cornholio has lost a lot of units. He could still actually just put out some Chaos Space Marines, and that's actually what he's doing. I mean, he's got the extra requisition floating around. Might as well use it, especially with just how much he has. Super Hooper sacrifices the Carnifex. And this Manticore has actually been alive all game, well, for as long as it came out. And it's level 4 now. I even wonder how many kills it has, like if you could actually count the kills, like in Company of Heroes. Yet another Manticore strike going in, slightly slow reactions, still getting hit by it, my god. Does he have a second Manticore? I don't think he does. But there is a second Fire Prism, and that's actually quite good, to be honest. Fire Prisms are just very, very powerful. Again, another game-changing unit, but you just got to make sure that you keep them out of things. There finally is one of those nukes. And let's see, how did that nuke go? I'm not sure, because I didn't have my attention fully on it when it hit. Let's get my attention on that Cyclone missile launcher barrage, and there finally is another nuke. Can he get some stuff into it? Alright, so he managed to place one beam in the retreat path. I think this forward beam is a little too far forward, but he got the other beams. That's pretty nice. Doesn't look like he's actually going to wipe any squads out of, though. Still definitely could have placed those beams a little further back. In hindsight, of course. Hindsight is 20/20? I was going to say 50/50, but it's 20/20. Fire Prisms need to be very, very careful, though. They need to make sure that they are disrupting things, constantly microing. I mean, the Fire Prism is just a unit that you need to constantly micro. Looks like this one, yeah, I was going to say might go down, and in fact, it does go down. So, I mean, really, you really got to never let, like, units get that close to it, because it's so fragile. It is such a glass cannon. It's definitely literally got, like, a cannon, and it's as fragile as glass. Hope you understand the metaphor.
The enemy has 100 points remaining.
But we've got a Tyrannid Lictor from Super Hooper. Looks like he used that to delay the cap by the Howling Banshees a bit. And PhatE just going for another Fire Prism. Alright, double cap, and VP's now evened out 63-68. Close game again. 63-68. No idea who will take it. Armies are relatively even. Cornholio could put out more Chaos Space Marines, but blue team going for the cap now. Let's see if they can finish it off. Meanwhile, the Swarm Lord still here, being an absolute nuisance that PhatE has just never really dealt with. Really need hard AV to deal with that Swarm Lord, and this is part of what I personally think is so good about the Swarm Lord. With that Leech Essence, he has so much staying power. He just stays alive. He survives, unlike the Carnifexes. Another thing is that the Swarm Lord actually has pretty good speed. I believe the speed is 5.5, which is actually faster than most infantry. Whereas the Carnifex goes, I believe, at speed 4.5, which is slower than most infantry, with 5 being the standard speed for infantry. Alright. And we have both the Howling Banshees charging in, as well as the Seer Council. They wipe a Devastator squad and then retreat. That's all they're doing. That's their job, I guess. Disruption going in from the Tank Buster Barrage. Double cap for the blue team, with quite possibly a triple. haven't managed to get the... Alright, they got the Lictor off the point, but they don't have something to put on it, because as soon as the Warlock tries to go on it, I don't know, this is actually looking like the win for the blue team, because the Warlock is just being too occupied right here, taking up the Swarm Lord, and the, well, mostly the Lictor actually, is taking up his time, so he can't really put himself back on the point. Or actually, if anything, he should put himself back on the point, but they would also need another VP to be whited out, and that is not going to happen. So it looks like the blue team instead is going to take this. Yep, definitely. Alright, and that is the game. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.